70, it's either 75 or 76. I can't. I'll have to look up that date better. I was sitting in my little house I bought in Midwest City, Oklahoma, after I surrendered in the federal building, enjoying life and watching my kids be happy, and got them each a dog and a shotgun to go out and hunt, and got them a motorcycle each, and everything was going real good, and I was happy. And my wife was the secretary to some big business down in Oklahoma City. And so we was doing real good. We had everything we wanted, and life was just like we wanted. And so the telephone rang, and the telephone was in the kitchen, Mike, at the kitchen table. And I went in there and sat down and said, hello. And the man on the other line says, may I talk to James Ward? I said, this is James Ward. And he said, I work for Randolph Hearst. I'm Mickey Cohen. I'm in the search for Patty, his daughter. And Mr. Hearst wants to talk to you, see if you want to join in with the hunt. Because of your experience back, he read a lot about you. And he's willing to talk to you and see if you want to go in to Hunter. And I said, well, I really don't care about that. And I says, Mickey, I says, do you know who I am? He said, yeah, James Ward. I said, no. I said, you know me a lot better than James Ward. And he said, what do you mean? I said, I'm Wing, W-I-N-G. And he said, oh, well, how did that happen? I said, well, if you read the papers right, I was surrendered, and I went back to my old name. Oh, he said, I'm sorry, but he said, I said, Mickey, I said, I wouldn't do nothing with you. I wouldn't even go to a barbecue with you, because I never respected you when you come to New York, and you was always acting tougher than you really was. And I never liked you, and I wouldn't want to be around you. He said, well, don't let that bother you. He says, I'll stay out of the pictures when you come out there. Would you come on out and talk to the Hearst? I said, okay, but he'll have to send me the money. So he sent me $10,000, and he got it real quick to me. And so we packed up, and we just bought a brand new station wagon. So we had plenty of room, so we threw some luggage in it, and all four reclined in it, and we headed west. Now, he gave me the information that Oakland first, and I go to a dealership, automobile dealership, that a man worked at, and I had his name and everything, and he was a psychic. His Patty's mother hired to see if he could locate her, and he was kind of handling the end of, trying to find Patty, and he wanted to talk to me before I went in, found out a little about me. So we were sitting in a restaurant right across from the dealership. Oh, when I got out there, I took my family up to my mother-in-law at Kelseyville, California, and left them. And I went back by myself. And because I didn't know what was going to come up over this. So we sat there in the restaurant drinking coffee and maybe had a sandwich, I don't remember. But he said, we'll go to the Mr. Hearst home here in San Francisco after a little bit. He says, I've got to go check out of the car dealership, and then we'll go. Well, the waiter came over and said his name, said somebody wants you on the telephone. And so I guess they called the dealership and said he wasn't there, he was at the restaurant. And they called over there, he answered the phone. And he said, I'll be right there. So he hung up the phone. He says, I'll call Mr. Hearst, said we'll be there around 12. And I said, that's fine. And so he wanted me to ride with him. And I said, no, I'm going to take my car and I'll follow you. You give me the address. If we get lost, I'll find it. So he gave me the address. And I followed him pretty well. We come right up to, it was a kind of a big house, nice house there in San Francisco. And so we went to the front door, and the butler or somebody come open the door. And we said, we want to talk to Mr. Hearst. Well, he's waiting on us. And they said, he's in the library, the first door to the left. So I told the psychic, I'd like to talk to him by myself, if you don't mind. He said, no, I don't want to talk to him. He says, you talk to him and see what he wants from you. And so I walked in there and looked at him. He's sitting at the desk. And you. He says, well, you probably could. And he said, I really want to find him. He says, I got to get home. He said, well, go to my house here, and you work here, because we think that in Cuba, she's here. Cuba. He says, yes. He says, we have a strong psychic said that she's at Olive Pine. I said, Miss Hearst, I said, that's not true. I said, because if she was in Cuba, Fidel Castro, I said, I know the man, I know him well, that he would put her in a 4x4x4 cell. And that's where she'd stay, because that's how he treats any criminal coming into his country. And he said, well, would you go on and see? He said, we think she's there somewhere. I said, yeah, if I can get in. And so I go to the embassy, and I said, the closest one I know of is in Ottawa, and that's almost 2,000 miles. And I said, I have to leave there, I have to get the papers to get in Canada, and I got to go down Florida and get a boat to make the crossing at 90 miles. And I said, I got a lot of miles to do, and the 10,000 you sent me is not near enough. I said, I just covered my trip out here. And he said, well, he said, that's no problem. He said, he'll give me what I need. I said, well, looking at it, the miles I got to go, and I'm going to take my family around with me, because I don't want nothing to happen with them. And I said, they'll be all right with me. And he said, all right. So I said, I need $10,000 or $12,000 more. And he went out just for a few minutes. I don't really know where he went, but he come out back in and sat down with a bunch of money in his hand. And he counted me out $10,000 and laid it down. He said, now this makes $20,000. And he says, if you find Patty, I'll make it $100,000. And that's 80 more thousand. I said, that's fine with me. I said, but I said, you know, she's not in Cuba, but I'll go there and look. I said, I'll try. And so he says, please do. And then I started to walk out of the room. He said, oh, Mr. Ward, shut the door tight. It was kind of a little open. I pushed it tight and I walked back over. I said, what you need? He said, I just wanted between you and me, nobody else, that I don't want Patty back. I looked at him and he said, you want me to hit her, right? He said, I don't know what you mean by that, but I just don't want her back into our lives because she disgraced us. And it'd be better if something happened to her and it'd be over with. I looked at it and I said, Miss Hearst,